Hi, my name is Jeff McCausland. I'm founder and CEO of Diamond 6 Leadership and Strategy. What I want to talk to you today about is the difference between a boss and a leader. And I want to use an example from my past to illustrate that particular difference. I commanded a battalion during the Gulf War back in 1990 and 91, and we were one of the first units to make our way to the highway that connected Basra in Iraq to Kuwait City in Kuwait. There was an awful lot of wreckage on that particular highway as the Iraqis had used that as a main line of retreat, and they'd been hit by U.S. aircraft, both fixed and rotary wing as well as artillery. So they were moving out of there pretty quickly. As I was going through some of the wreckage in one of the bunkers, I came across this stick right here, a very, very attractive hand-carved stick, probably belonged to an Iraqi officer or a non-commissioned officer. Keep it in my office, and I think about this stick sometimes because, you know, in my talks about leadership, I often come up with a definition of leadership provided by Dwight Eisenhower. Eisenhower once said, leadership is deciding what has to be done and getting others to want to do it, to get buy-in from people. Well, as I thought about this stick, you know, this stick really is leadership in the Iraqi army, because you can tell how carved it is and be carried by an officer and NCO, and you can figure out what an officer or NCO would use this stick for. Demand people to buy into the direction that he wanted to take with actual physical punishment. You could say that particular Iraqi officer was a boss and not a leader. Well, what's a boss? Well, a boss is a person who drives employees, depends on authority, actually inspires fear in those who work for him or her, says I and not, looks for somebody to blame whenever there's a breakdown, knows how it's done, doesn't matter what it is, uses people, takes all the credit, commands, and says go. That's all he or she says. Now, some would modify that. Ronald Reagan once said a good boss, but I actually say a leader, takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less than his share of the credit. In comparison, a leader coaches employees, depends on goodwill, generates enthusiasm, says we, fixes breakdowns, shows how it's to be done, develops his or her people, gives a lot of credit to everyone else, asks questions, and says, let's go together. So as you're thinking about yourself in the future and how you're running your particular team, think to yourself, am I a boss that depends on something like this to get my organization to move forward? And you can get a lot of progress out of a stick. Or am I really a leader? And remember one thing, all kinds of research suggests the following. People take a position for the job, but they leave that position because of the person they're working for. Thanks very much.